Okay. So today we'll be talking about the treatment aspects of orthodontics. Okay. Here we'll be talking about how do you actually go about a question. That is, when a question is asked and you need to decide the treatment, you need to know the clinical features, the cephalometric features, the radiographic features. Then you need to come to a diagnosis, and then you need to decide your treatment and choose one of the options. Okay, so that was one of the problems all of you were facing. So today we have divided ortho treatment into preventive, interceptive and corrective. Okay, preventive is space maintenance. We'll see if we have time today, we will do it at the end, or we can take it in pedo also. But today we'll be specifically talking about interceptive and corrective orthodontics. And all those AIIMS November 2012 questions which Anika had put up on the Facebook, all the ortho treatment questions are included. Other questions also have tried to include in a different PPT, but there are one or two which we'll be including it in the query solving session. Okay, so we'll start with interceptive orthodontics today. So what you need to know is, when you come to a question, okay, you need to know whether you need to maintain space, or you need to create space, or you need to gain space. Depending on that, you need to derive to a treatment. Okay, now maintain space is easy. Whenever there is some premature loss of any tooth at a very young age, you need to give a space maintainer. Gain space, when there has been space loss by mesial tipping or distal tipping of teeth and new teeth are erupting at that time, you need to gain space with the help of space regainers. And everything else like distalization, proximal stripping, arch expansion, myofunctional appliances, extractions, orthopedic appliances, they all modify and create space. Okay, that is all during the developmental period. When there are a few interruptions for eruption of teeth or for the jaws to grow, skeletal growth, you use all these. So we'll be talking in specific, and then we'll be going through all the questions where you have to diagnose and let me know the treatment. Okay, so we'll not be talking about space maintainers. We'll see if we have time. In the end we'll go. First we'll start with interceptive orthodontics. Okay, no problem, Shanba, we have just started. Okay, so the first part is interceptive orthodontics. What exactly is? There already some amount of problem has occurred and we are going to go and intercept it. Here only we are going to go and stop it, so that the patient does not need a corrective orthodontic. Here only his orthodontic problem is solved. Okay, that is interceptive orthodontics. Now these are all the procedures which come under interceptive orthodontics, like gain loss space or create space, correction of crossbites, interception of skeletal malocclusion, control of abnormal habits, removal of soft tissue or bony barrier to enable eruption. These are certain things which you need to do in interceptive orthodontics, and all these things which are written in blue, that is your treatment. Okay, so you can gain loss space or create space with serial extractions, space regainers, and there are some other methods also of regaining space like proximal stripping, disking, distalization of molars, etc. Okay, and how do you correct crossbites and habits? You do it with the help of myofunctional appliances, arch expansion methods, muscle exercises, etc. Okay, so we'll talk one by one. First we'll come to serial extractions. Now we'll not go into very deep about everything. Okay, I just want you to know that when serial extraction has to be done, that is the indication of serial extraction. That is the most important aspect of today's part. Okay. See, now serial extraction is what you do is you intercept at an early stage where you do extractions in a serial order. You do a planned extraction or you do a progressive extraction till you get your desired treatment. Okay, these are some of the terms which you need to know. We will not be going into deep of all these. You need to know the names of these authors who gave the concept, who is known as the father of serial extraction and who called it as guidance of eruption, etc. Okay. I changed the slide. You want to go through it once? Okay, so what is the rationale of these serial extractions? What are the two main principles on which it works? The two main principles are arch length tooth material discrepancy and physiologic tooth movement. Okay, these are the two main principles on which serial extractions work. Arch length tooth material discrepancy is when there is more of tooth material and less of the arch length, you need to remove this tooth material. So whenever this tooth material or whenever your space discrepancy is more than 5 mm, you need to go for serial extractions. Whenever your space discrepancy is 5 to 7 mm or 7 to 10 mm, you need to go for serial extractions. Okay. Physiologic tooth movement is what? Whenever you create a space, the tooth starts to go and move along that. Okay. Whenever you create an extraction space, the adjacent tooth will nasally and distally shift and will occupy that space. So these are the two principles on which serial extractions work. One is you are removing the excess tooth material that is present in the oral cavity, and second is the physiological space is created so the other teeth will automatically move and align themselves without crowding. Okay? More than 5 mm. Okay? Now what are the indications of serial extraction? Okay, pay attention over here. Class 1 malocclusion. Yes, more than 5 mm, 5 to 7 mm, 10 mm you can do serial extractions. Okay, absence of physiological spaces. There is no primate spaces present. Unilateral and bilateral loss of canines with midline shift. Whenever the midline is shifted, that is an indication of serial extraction. Okay. Malpositioned or impacted lateral incisors that erupt palatally. Crowded upper and lower anteriors. Localized gingival recession. Yes, early loss of deciduous canine. Either unilateral or bilateral. Okay. Mesial migration of buccal segments, lower anterior flaring, abnormal eruption pattern and sequence, ankylosis of one or more teeth. See Aditi, when your permanent laterals are impacted, okay, that means there is no space for the laterals to come. The space is so less in the anterior arch area that even after your lateral incisors, primary lateral incisors have fallen off, there is no place for the permanent lateral incisor to come. So it has got impacted. Okay, clear? Yeah. Growth is not enough to See, if the lateral incisors are impacted, that means there is loss of space. Not impacted in the sense they are moved or deflected palatally because there is no space in the anterior arch. Okay. Growth is not enough to overcome the discrepancy between the tooth material and the basal bone. Patients with straight and pleasing profile. Okay, so these are all the indications of serial extraction. So whenever you find a question with anterior crowding or a midline shift or a space loss of more than 5 mm, they are all indications that you have to go for a serial extraction. Okay, but what are the contraindications? Now when can you not do this serial extractions? You cannot do it in class 2, class 3 skeletal, spaced dentition, anodontia, oligodontia, open bite, deep bite, midline diastema, class 1 occlusion with minimal space. For example, if it is 2 mm space deficiency, it is not required to go for serial extractions. You can do something which is more conservative. Like, what can you do if there is a 2 mm space deficiency? You do not have to go for a very traumatic part of serial. Yes, you can go for disking, proximal stripping, etc. That will help. Okay, unerupted malformed teeth like dilacerations. In all these cases, see, Radhika, pleasing appearance means the patient should not have a very prognathic mandible or a very prognathic maxilla or something like that. Whenever it is a very skeletal deformity, you cannot go for a serial extraction. That time that's a contraindication. Yes, no skeletal issues, because skeletal issues are all contraindications. Okay, why is a skeletal issue a contraindication? Because serial extractions won't tend to make that adjustment. Serial extraction won't take care of the problem. Yeah, it requires other treatments. The bone has to be treated, not the tooth. Okay, here it's a skeletal problem. Spaced dentition, already it is spaced. So you do not need to go for a serial extraction, because serial extraction is for where the space is less. Anodontia, oligodontia, again teeth are missing. So you cannot go for serial extractions. Okay, because serial extractions will create more space. Already his permanent teeth are missing and you are creating more space by serial extractions. So lot of problem. Open bite, deep bite, again this thing won't be solved with serial extractions. You will tend to worsen the case when you are doing a serial extraction and an open bite or a deep bite case. Midline diastema, again lot of space is available. You do not need to go. Class 1 mole, okay, we talked about this. In such cases you can do for something better like proximal stripping. Extensive caries or heavily filled first permanent molars. Mild disproportion between arch length and tooth material that can be treated by proximal stripping. Okay, why is it extensive caries or heavily filled first permanent molars? When there is extensive caries in permanent molars, first permanent molars, why can't you do serial extractions? See, in such a case, it is better to extract the first permanent molar to create space rather than removing the premolar. It is better to remove the first permanent molar and guide the second permanent molar in its place. What is that extractions known as, where all first permanent molars are extracted when they are very grossly decayed? Yes. So you can do Wilkinson's extraction in this case rather than doing serial extractions. Okay. So it is very important to diagnose a patient carefully before doing serial extractions. Clear? Understood all the indications and contraindications of serial extraction? Okay. Next is the procedure. The procedure is 3 methods, as you know: duals, tweeds and Nance. Okay. You will not go with Grui's method. It is, you learn in PG if you do that. Here for MCQ point of view, you just need to know these 3 methods, and I am very sure all of you know how it works. How does dual work? What is the, yes, CD4. Tweeds, yes, both are D4C. Nance, Yes, this is also D4C. Okay. So in Duell's method, what you do is you remove the primary canine. Okay. First you remove this primary canine. Then you remove the deciduous molar. And then you remove the first premolar. That is the order of Duell's method. Okay. Deciduous canines are extracted at the age of 8 to 9. After a year, deciduous molars are extracted. Then your first premolars are extracted. But Tweeds and Nance have given a different of D4C. They want to retain the primary canine. Why? One is because of they do not want to lose the arch length in the anterior region. Secondly, they do not want early eruption of the permanent canines. Okay, they want to delay the eruption of permanent canines as much as they can. So they keep the primary canine in that place only. Later on, after D and 4 have been extracted, they extract C. Clear? There is another technique, modified Duell's technique. What did modified Duell's technique is what? It is nothing but when you are, see what is Duell's? It is C, D4, yeah. What you do is when you are extracting D, at that time only you enucleate the 4. Okay, at that time only you enucleate it and remove 4. Both are done at the same time. Otherwise in Duell's methods they are done at different time periods. C, then D, then 4. But modified Duell says first do C followed by D and 4 together. Clear with all the 4 methods? Okay? Okay. Okay, now what are the other methods? See, whenever a question says that there is 2 mm loss or there is 1.5 mm loss, that time rather than going for serial extractions, you go for proximal stripping and disking. Clear? Next is when you have to do distalization of first permanent molars. In case of class 2 division 1, when you want the teeth to go behind, what you can do is you can extract the second molars so that the first permanent molars can get distalized and your class 2 division 1 is reduced. Okay. Otherwise you can use appliances. What appliances can you use for distalization of molars? Note Shenba, for Tweeds and Nance, D and 4 are extracted separately. Yes, one is pendulum appliance, another, if you remember we had talked in space maintainers, there was one appliance in space maintainer which was used for rotating the molars distally. Space maintainer. Yes, headgear can also be used. Remember, any space maintainer used in the upper maxillary region where other than maintenance of space, it had a function. Yes, very good Radhika, transpalatal arch. Okay, that was used for distalization of molars. So these appliances can be used. Other than that, you can extract the second molars also. Okay, next is balancing extractions. Now if a question comes to you that there is no crowding, okay, there is no space loss also much, but C, you can say 5-3 is lost. Yes, 5-3 is lost. There is a small midline shift. What will you do? Yes, you will only extract 6-3. You will do just the first part of serial extraction and wait. That is to prevent midline shift, because if one teeth is lost and the other teeth, the same teeth on the other side of the arch is not lost for 3 months, 6 months, 10 months, it is better to extract it and prevent midline shift. Okay? That is balancing extraction. Balancing is on the same arch, opposite sides. Compensating extractions is opposite arch. Same side but opposite arch. Yes, that is to prevent supra-eruption. For example, you extract 3-7. Okay, and 2-7 is supra-erupting. It is better that you extract 2-7 also. or you replace 3-7 with a prosthesis, that is a different thing. But to prevent supra-eruption, you do compensatory extraction. So remember the difference between balancing is same arch, different sides. Compensatory is same side, different arches. Clear? Wilkinson's we already talked. Wilkinson's is when you remove all your first molars. That can be due to any reason, because of space loss, because not all first permanent molars are grossly decayed, or your third molar is crowded. So you remove first molars, second molars will move in the place of first molars, and third molars will move in the place of second molars. Clear? So these are all the other methods other than serial extractions to create space. Okay? Okay. Now you tell me, what will you do if a 10-year-old patient comes to you, has lower canines trying to erupt into a space insufficient by 2 mm, primary second molars are large and firmly in space, and first premolars are erupting. An acceptable preventive orthodontic procedure in this case will be? Yes, because your space loss is very less, it's just 2 mm. You should not go for serial extractions here. It is better that you go for a better method like disking of primary second molars. Clear? Now you are getting how to diagnose at least this much. Interceptive orthodontics, serial extractions. Okay. Next is removal of 7-7 is preference is indicated in, see, according to me this 7 they mean is by 1-7 and 2-7. Okay, the upper 7. Okay, so what will you do here? It is indicated in which cases? Yes, see, even if you go by eliminating, see, when 6-6 are inclined distally, you won't remove 7-7, right? 6-6 will move more distally. So this is wrong. When 8-8 are congenitally absent, if 8-8 are congenitally absent, why are you extracting 7-7? No point. So this is also wrong. Okay, you are extracting second molars. In a developmental stage only you will extract second molars so that the third molars erupt properly. So it cannot be done in adult patients. It will be in adolescent age. That is maybe 18 to 25. So this is also wrong. So if you go by elimination also you get this answer. Clear? Yeah, this because this 7-7 no, they have, I think it should be 1-7 and 2-7. You cannot extract 3-7 and 4-7. If you extract 1-7, 2-7, then your arch, maxillary arch will go back. See Radhika, if you extract 1-7 and 2-7, your 1-6 and 2-6 will move distally. All your upper arch teeth will move distally. So when all the teeth move distally, you will get a better profile view. His class 2 division will be reduced. Getting me? Your teeth will move back. Class 2 division is what? Where your anteriors are proclined. But this is again mild, not much. So when you are extracting second molars, entire arch will move behind. Slowly, it will take a lot of time, but it will move. Okay? Clear all of you now? Okay. Next is, an 8-year-old patient has moderate crowding in anterior and posterior segments, midline shift due to unilateral loss of primary canine, and a class 1 occlusion. What is the treatment? Yes, here you have crowding, you have midline shift, you have a class 1 case, and the child is 8 years old. A perfect indication of serial extractions. Okay? So now you understood where you have to do serial extraction, where you have to do disking, where you have to do extraction of teeth. Okay. Yeah, see, if they tell you, that's what I said. When I told you the question of canine, what I said was, only 5-3 is lost, but the patient does not have crowding, the patient does not have any other problem except loss of phi3. In that cases, you do a serial extraction of the opposite canine to prevent midline shift. But here already there is crowding, midline has been shifted, already problem has worsened to an extent where you have to go for a serial extraction. Getting me? There is already one question also where it says that phi3 is prematurely lost. What will be your treatment plan? In that you will go for extraction of 6-3 only. So see, whenever you find a question, see the age. Okay, see which age the patient is. He is in a growing period or already a developed period. Then you see the clinical features. Okay, if it's an ortho question, then you see cephalometric features. If radiographic features are there, you have to evaluate all of them and then you need to come to a diagnosis. Once you achieve a diagnosis, then only you can choose one of the options as treatment. Okay, so be very careful while doing that. Read the question 1 or 2 times. 2 or 3 times, sorry. Okay? Okay, now we come to space regainers. See, these are all the different types of space regainers. Now it is not important for you to learn all these. You should just know that these are space regainers. My motive today is to help you find the treatment where you have to use a space regainer. Okay, so these are the different space regainers. We will not go through this. You can just, I'll just show you the pictures so that you know which one is which. Okay, now these are removable ones. This is a slingshot. Now what is a slingshot? You know, catapult. If you must be playing in school with a rubber band and a piece of paper, that's a slingshot. Okay, it's a catapult. Yeah. Okay. So this is something like this only. This is your catapult over here. Okay, and it is applying pressure. And because of the pressure, it is getting pulled in this way. Okay. The pressure is this side. So your molars are easily distalized, creating space. Okay, that is a slingshot. Clear? See, you are pulling the catapult like this. And this is your piece of paper. Getting me? Or you leave the catapult, don't try to compare it. See, this is your spring and this is your rubber band attached to it. Okay, now this rubber band is being pulled over here. It has, the force is applied in this area. So the molar is getting distalized. Okay, you leave the catapult. Okay, this is the rubber band which is getting pulled in this area, in this form. Clear? Okay. That's what I'm saying. Don't go into the concepts so deeply. Right now just try to identify that where you have to use a space regainer rather than how a slingshot works. Okay, now this is a split saddle where your saddle is split. Okay, your saddle is split and you keep activating the spring over here, which tends to move this spring this way and this spring this way. So it is trying to move the molar distally and move the first premolar mesially so that it creates space for second premolar. As you keep activating the spring keeps pushing the teeth. Yeah, it tries to open the space. You are trying to create space. Clear? That is a split saddle. Your saddle is split. Next is palatal spring. I hope all of you know this, how palatal spring works. You just keep activating your spring every time. Okay, you just keep, no, sort of the spring applies force. The spring is pushing the acrylic there. The spring transmits it to the acrylic and the acrylic transmits it. But it is mainly the spring which is working there. Okay, in palatal spring, you just activate the spring and it will start moving the, you know how a palatal spring works, right? This will start moving the molar distally. As you keep activating the spring, this arm which is here will start moving distally. Clear? So that is a Hawley's with a palatal spring, also known as spring style. This one. And your last one is screw type. That is easy. Just like a expansion screw, but it is placed in this area. For an expansion screw, it is placed in the midline. But when you are creating space here, the screw is placed between this plate and this plate. As you keep opening the screw, the plates move apart, trying to create space. Clear? Okay. Okay, this is the fixed one. This is the open coil spring. Now what is this is, you put a band on the tooth distal to where you want the space. This is a wire. This wire has coiled spring, open coil spring placed in the wire, and this entire U-shaped tube is placed like this and soldered. Okay? And then because of the activation of the spring, it tries to create space for this premolar. This is a fixed space regainer. Okay? Okay, this is a space regainer in place. Yes, it is for both. Okay, this is an open coil. Closed coil is not there in today's space regainers. We'll talk about that later because even I am not very clear about open coil and closed coil. Okay? Okay. This is an open space regainer which is placed in the oral cavity, which you can see the pre-operative and the post-operative photographs. Okay. Next is the Gerber space regainer. Now Gerber space regainer is a little different. What they do is, this is a tube, this is your wire, and in the wire they put the open coil spring. Again in this you are using the open coil spring only. Okay. And then this wire goes into the tube and the tube gets fixed onto the band. Yeah, this is also fixed. Both open coil and Gerbers are fixed appliances, and all those four, slingshot, saddle, screw and palatal spring are removable. Okay, 4 are removable and 2 are fixed. Okay, but the only difference is there you just had a U-shaped loop and an open coil spring. Whereas in Gerber space regainer you have this extra tube. Then you have the wire with this open coil spring. The wire goes into the tube and the tube is attached onto the band and then it is fixed onto the tooth. Clear? That is the Gerber space. So these are all space regainers. Okay. Now before we talk about cross bites and open bites and all that, I'd like you to first explain what is myofunctional appliances. Myofunctional appliances and orthopedic appliances so that you know which one to use where. Okay?